coming back to the kind of the product side of things, right? As the roadmap has evolved now over the last 2 3 years, right? What are some of the kind of North Star metrics that you kind of kept for the product, and on this journey to PMF, right? Where you said that, look, if this is what we need to see in the product for us to have that confidence that we are actually kind of getting those early PMF signs, right? And we feel kind of good about it. Talk to us about some of those nuances around the product.
Definitely. I think for me also, this has been a lot of learning because most of the products I've built till now have been B2C. And this one, while we don't yet serve very large enterprises, but we are still B2B, whichever way you look at it. So one thing that I've learned, which I think is very different from my past experiences, is data will not tell you everything. We built several features for accounts receivable and reconciliation, tax compliance, and so on, where it is actually far more valuable to sit across the table or over a Zoom call with a customer and go through painful detail of what they do today, and then come up with the workflow that can improve their life, and come up with the solution. So let me give you an example. How does a typical Skydo customer make an invoice? That is the question we asked about 2 years back, once we had the basic product in place. A lot of customers were using Excel sheets and Google Docs to create invoices, and it was very ad hoc, error prone. The invoices were not looking professional to their clients, and so on. But we went through all of those painful details, literally took a demo from our customers of how they create invoices today. And then, and not every customer was doing the same thing. It was also very fragmented, right? Some were using some invoicing platform like Zoho or Tally. Some were using spreadsheets and Google Docs and so on, and a long tail. So we understood all of that and then said, okay, if Skydo has to help these customers in building invoices, then which is the right place to attack? Should we try to get people who are using Tally or Zoho to start using Skydo? We realized that that's not going to work, and those people are really loyal to those platforms because those platforms are also fairly complex and they do a lot more than just invoicing. So, getting them to shift their invoicing to Skydo is not going to work. We also realized that the kind of problems they were facing were not as severe, and they were happy with what they were doing. Whereas those who were doing ad hoc invoicing was the right place for us to attack and, give them a significantly better invoicing experience. So the reason I took this example is that had we, taken a data-driven approach, which is usually the fancy thing that every young PM thinks of, it may not have led us to these answers. Even today, I don't think data alone is the way for us to understand what can Skydo invoicing do better. And I'm taking invoicing as the example, but you can take any B2B feature as an example. There are, of course, areas where data is much more helpful and is the dominant way for you to discover problems. But even there, I would say that you have to lead with a hypothesis. But in places where workflow is involved, where somebody is going to spend 10 minutes on your platform to create an invoice or to do some reconciliation or to send out a ledger to their client, you cannot just look at data. For example, how would you look at data in this thing? You would say, if there is a drop-off, then maybe the product is, requiring some improvement. Maybe if the customer is spending too much time on one particular page, then the product needs some improvement, and so on. But the problem is that these things are so core to the life of a user. If somebody is exporting and you built a really shitty invoicing platform, they will eventually figure it out and learn it and learn to work around the quirks and bad experiences that you provided them. So eventually data will not show you where your product can be improved, right? Whereas if you really go through it from first principles and ask a few customers who are using it for the first time, what can we do better, or where do you really face frustration today? And you keep listening to those new customers in your customer support channels and so on also, I think that's the right way to do it. And by no means am I saying that data is not important. I think 50% of problem discovery will still happen through data, but it's just not 100%. So that is one key learning for me. And that's also been something that I've tried to execute in building the product team, and that's been my message to them throughout. That don't just depend on data. Don't just keep looking at your laptop. Actually, talk to customers and understand where they are getting frustrated or having to spend much more time than they need to, and so on. Of course, there are, as I said, there are areas of product where data is much more important. For example, growth. There is a conversion funnel. Certain people drop off during onboarding, and you just have to keep chipping away at those issues that cause those drop-offs until there is zero drop-off, and that will of course never happen. So as you keep scaling, you'll keep improving your onboarding experience and keep removing the reasons for drop-off. So yeah, these have been a few learnings as we've built our product. That there are different areas within product that need to be looked differently, and data is not everything in some of those areas.
And hence the value of continuously speaking to customers, right? And I think Paul Graham's mantra keeps coming back in this pod, right, of doing things that don't scale. And sometimes there is a tendency of teams to kind of over automate things, or like, as you said, right, go into a quant mode in a lot of these things. Whereas I think my observation again across as an operator in my own startup as well is that for actually several years the game is actually qualitative until you kind of hit that point, right, where then there is enough numbers to chew on, and the numbers start to make sense and tell a story.